The restaurant buzzed with the familiar sounds of dinner service. Waiters hurried between tables carrying steaming plates, children laughed over desserts, and soft music drifted through the room. It was the kind of place where people came to forget the stress of the day. Near the large front window sat Ethan Carter, a quiet single father enjoying a rare evening out with his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Their table was simple: a basket of warm bread, 2 glasses of lemonade, and a box of crayons spread across the tablecloth. Lily was completely focused on drawing colorful sea animals while Ethan watched her with a gentle smile. Since losing his wife 3 years earlier, moments like these had become priceless. He worked long hours as a maintenance supervisor just to give Lily a stable life, and every Friday night he made a promise to spend uninterrupted time with her. No phone calls, no work, just father and daughter. To everyone else in the restaurant, Ethan looked like an ordinary man wearing faded jeans, an old hoodie, and a pair of worn work boots. His calm expression revealed nothing about the difficult years he had survived. No one could have guessed that before becoming a full-time father, Ethan had spent more than a decade serving in one of the Navy's most elite special operations units. He had completed dangerous missions across the world, rescued hostages, and protected people he would never meet again. Those days were behind him now. He had buried his medals in a closet, locked away painful memories, and promised himself that his only mission from then on was raising Lily. As he watched his daughter laugh at one of her drawings, Ethan quietly thought that this peaceful evening was worth more than every medal he had ever earned. He had no desire for attention or recognition. He simply wanted an ordinary life. But sometimes, trouble has a way of finding the people who least expect it. Without realizing it, Ethan noticed a young woman entering the restaurant alone. She looked around nervously before choosing a table close to the entrance. Her hands shook as she placed her purse on the chair beside her, and she kept glancing over her shoulder as if she feared someone was following her. Ethan's instincts, sharpened by years of military service, immediately sensed that something wasn't right. He didn't stare or make assumptions, but years of experience had taught him to notice details others ignored. The woman checked her phone repeatedly, whispered into it for only a few seconds, then ended the call with visible panic in her eyes. Ethan took a slow sip of his drink and silently hoped he was wrong. Tonight was supposed to be about Lily, not the dangerous world he had left behind. Unfortunately, fate had already begun writing a very different ending for the evening. Across the room, the young woman tried to appear calm, but every movement betrayed her fear. She wrapped both hands around a glass of water she hadn't touched, her eyes constantly shifting between the restaurant entrance and the parking lot outside. Every few seconds she checked her phone, hoping to see a message that help was on the way. Instead, the screen remained blank. She took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "Just a few more minutes." She had been repeating those words for nearly half an hour. Ethan noticed the tension without making it obvious. Years of military training had taught him to read body language better than words. Fear had a rhythm of its own, and the woman was showing every sign of someone who believed she was being hunted. He casually scanned the restaurant while pretending to watch Lily color another picture. Everything seemed normal. Families laughed together, a couple celebrated a birthday near the back of the room, and waiters moved quickly between tables. Yet Ethan couldn't ignore the uneasy feeling growing stronger with every passing second. "Dad," Lily said softly, holding up her drawing, "do you think this dolphin looks real?" Ethan smiled warmly and admired the picture. "I think it looks better than real," he replied. "I think it looks happy." Lily grinned proudly before returning to her crayons. Ethan gently brushed a strand of hair away from her face, grateful for moments like these. They reminded him why he had walked away from his military career. Protecting strangers had once been his duty. Protecting Lily was now his entire world. Across the room, the woman suddenly received another phone call. She answered immediately, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm still here. No, they haven't found me yet. Please hurry." Her face turned pale as she listened. "What do you mean they're already nearby?" The call ended abruptly. She slowly lowered the phone, her hands trembling even more than before. She stood as if she wanted to leave, then froze, staring toward the restaurant entrance. Ethan followed her gaze. 2 black SUVs had just pulled into the parking lot. The engines remained running. 2 large men stepped out and walked purposefully toward the entrance without speaking to each other. They weren't dressed like ordinary customers. Their expressions were cold, focused, and completely emotionless. Ethan immediately recognized the confidence of men who were used to intimidating others. The restaurant doors opened. A cool breeze swept inside. The two strangers scanned the room for only a moment before locking their eyes on the frightened woman. She knew instantly they had found her. For the first time that evening, Ethan quietly pushed his chair back from the table. He wasn't looking for trouble. But trouble had just walked through the front door. The moment the two men stepped inside, the atmosphere in the restaurant changed completely. The laughter that had filled the room only seconds earlier faded into an uneasy silence. Several customers looked up from their meals, sensing that something was wrong, but quickly returned their attention to their plates. No one wanted to become involved. The young woman froze beside her table. Her breathing became quick and shallow as the men slowly approached. She took one cautious step backward, accidentally knocking her chair to the floor. The loud crash echoed through the restaurant, causing every head to turn. One of the men smiled coldly. "There you are," he said. "You really thought you could hide from us?" "I don't want any trouble," the woman replied, her voice trembling. "Please, just leave me alone." The taller man laughed. "It's too late for that." He reached for her arm, but she pulled away and stumbled backward. A waiter rushed forward, trying to calm the situation. "Sir, please," the waiter said politely. "You're disturbing our guests." The second man shoved him aside so hard that the young waiter nearly fell into another table. Plates crashed onto the floor, and frightened customers quickly moved out of the way. Near the window, Lily looked at her father with worried eyes. "Dad, what's happening?" Ethan kept his voice calm. "Stay right here, sweetheart. But, no matter what happens, don't leave this table. I'll be right back." Lily nodded, trusting him completely. Ethan stood slowly, his expression relaxed but focused. His eyes never left the two men. Years ago, he had learned that staying calm gave you an advantage when everyone else was panicking. The taller attacker finally grabbed the woman's wrist. She cried out in pain. "Please, you're hurting me." Several people pulled out their phones, but no one dared to step forward. Ethan quietly walked across the room. His footsteps were slow and steady. When he stopped only a few feet away, both men turned toward him. "Let her go," Ethan said in a calm, controlled voice. The taller man looked him up and down before laughing. "And who are you supposed to be? Someone giving you a chance to walk away." The second attacker smirked. "You should mind your own business, old man." Ethan didn't react. "This is your last warning," he said. The restaurant became completely silent. Even the kitchen staff stood frozen, watching through the serving window. The woman looked at Ethan with desperate hope, while the attackers exchanged amused glances. To them, he looked like nothing more than an ordinary father in a worn hoodie. They had no idea they were standing face to face with a man who had survived years of elite military combat. And within the next few seconds, they were about to make the biggest mistake of their lives.